Go baby, what's good guys? Yoku here, and welcome to my guide on how to beat Node 5 in the new Shiyu Defense cycle. For this node, we've got a combination of easy and engaging bosses, along with some incredibly annoying mobs and elites to deal with. This video's purpose is to teach you the basics about in-game that you need to know, with different strategies, tips, and team building to help you beat the new Shiyu Defense confidently. On screen, I'll have some brief reminders that you can pause the screen to read. These are essential points to keep in mind when facing Shiyu Defense, because knowledge is the absolute best tool you can add to your kit. For players who might be unaware, our Shiyu Defense was recently remodeled to fit a new in-game. In the previous version, players used 2 teams throughout floors 6 and 7 to achieve an S rank for clearing the content. That version was seen as free or an easy in-game for well over a year. Eventually, changes were made to up the difficulty, but the developers mentioned that the old system didn't fit their new vision. In this new remodeled version, players still need to reach an S rank to clear, but it's all under one node now, called Floor 5. 3 new rooms, each with their own buffs and bosses to conquer, need to hold a score of 25,000 points or higher to get the S rank and gain all the premium rewards. With that score comes new restrictions, like the inability to share teammates, disk drives, or W engines with different teams per floor. Finally, there's a new score multiplier to help rank players on the leaderboard. These limitations, along with the brand new score multiplier, have forced the community into another gigantic split. Some players love it, other players hate it. I'll save my opinions on it towards the end of the guide. Over the course of the last week, I've taken hours of my time to gather strategies, tips, free-to-play teams, and answers to help all of you overcome the struggle that you might be facing against the new Shiyu Defense. All the teams showcased throughout the entire guide have a 3-cost or below system in place, except the Yuzuha and Yanagi teams. Each of them will work with a 3-cost team too. I just kind of forgot to swap Yuzuha and Trigger's engine before recording. Keep in mind, this is my first time implementing something like this on the channel, so if there's any tips you think will make these types of videos better to help you, feel free to leave it in the comments or my Discord down below. In the meantime, let's rock it. Room 1 features a couple of aggressive priests and a brand new boss named Covenant Guardian. The buff, Dawn's Guiding Light, increases agent attack by 30% and crit damage increased by 15%. The enemy stun damage multiplier also increases by another 20%. The enemies on this floor all share the same weaknesses, being fire and physical, making this an obvious matchup for agents with those elements. But more importantly is building a team that can effectively deal with the 2 priests within the first wave. Both of them get their butts kicked by burn, making agents like Bernice a phenomenal pick against the matchup. Burning them is also how you prevent them from jumping around the map, spreading apart, and it overall makes it easier to stun them at the same time. Starting with wave 1, we're gonna have Flame Cantor and Wicked Wraith. Cantor is probably the most annoying elite of the 2 due to the fact that he can summon smaller mobs called Huskrons if you leave him alone for too long. Now, the Huskrons give great opportunities to parry them, but they'll also bum rush you at the mage's command. Essentially, Cantor will summon enough of these things so that you start to get jumped by over 5 aggressive enemies at once. Wraith is one of our newer elites that uses a combination of attacks featuring his giant axe and a shotgun. The key to facing him is to keep him close within line of sight. Otherwise, he will try to blow your back out with a Peacemaker from Apex. Now, Wraith is the most aggressive of the 2 and will prioritize chasing you down, but by staying close enough to the mage, you can force the Hulk to follow you all the time. This is going to help limit or outright cancel the mage from summoning his minions. If he can't breathe, he can't summon. If you follow this strategy, you don't have to worry about projectiles much during the entire fight, and now you can just focus on keeping them grouped together in order to stun them at the same time. Keep in mind, the mage builds days faster than the Hulk, so don't really freak out if one of them gets stunned before the other. Most fire agents also have linear or cone-shaped attacks, allowing you to hit both of them at the same time. One of the keys to Shiyu Defense is to be smart about your lineups, and here in particular, you can absolutely kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Remember that burning them helps prevent them from spreading about. See, if I was Canadian, I would have said kaboot. Kaboot? Wow, a boot. After wave 1, we go into wave 2, which is gonna be the Covenant Guardian. A general rule of thumb once Guardian enters the stage is to rush stun as fast as possible. Every fire DPS benefits the most in stun, so try taking advantage of that. Of course, this changes if you don't have a stunner, and using double stun makes it 10 times easier. When fighting Guardian, he has a couple of movesets you want to watch out for between his normal attacks and Miasma mode, but ultimately, this is a pretty easy fight with a lot of telegraphed attacks. Within the normal phase, he's going to be slinging Miasma into pools, which are going to create these homing darts. Use these for dodge counters to get extra damage and opportunity against the Guardian. There's a move Guardian uses where he shoots giant laser beam, and this gives you the opportunity for 3 dodge counters if you're able to dodge all of them within that beam. Using shoulder to shoulder is going to be your absolute best friend. This is going to help you score extra damage, build up days, and interrupt her light attacks. I'm not sure what Guardian is, to be honest, but you catch my drift. Her normal attack strings will consist of 1 to 3 slashes before throwing her blades at you or converting them into laser beams. After that first stun or so, you're going to go straight into the Miasma phase, and Miasma moves are a little bit different. When she does this spin blade thing, if you parry it twice, or rather if you parry it, then do the attack counter, and then parry it again, you can interrupt her from finishing the animations of the blade. This is going to remove a massive chunk of her miasma. When she backflips, this is going to be the startup animation of her big air missile attack. You can cancel this out with an ult, but it has to be right before the gold or red flash. Little bit of a hidden mechanic, if you will, because the kit absolutely does not tell you that you can do that. But in the event you do it, you're golden for just free damage. If I'm not mistaken, a chain attack will also counter that, but I think Astra is probably the only one that's going to let you do that. The Miasma phase is incredibly easy. You have nothing to worry about once you get the rhythm down. Now that I've explained the general game plan and tips for Room 1, I'm going to walk you guys through how I scored an S rank with the free-to-play team. There is a plethora of teams that you can confidently clear with, but it's impossible for me to build a guide featuring every single team in existence. Just take the information I gave you and work with what you got, but feel free to ask questions if you have them. For Room 1, my team of choice was Soldier 11, Pokra, and Orphe. The complete builds for all of the teams I use in this video will be at the end of the video. So round start at 5 minutes, you want to open up with your support buff of choice. In my case, this is going to be Orphe. Build some meter with your DPS, and you want to play around Pokra. This is extremely important for the entire fight. Your entire opening rotation to reach the 25k needs to emphasize building days with the Hunter's Gate state. Things like not wasting her EX skill and utilizing what you have. Don't switch into her if there is still more than 2 claw stacks, otherwise you're going to waste it even more. Her ultimate also adds like 30 plus days every time you use it, so as soon as you get it, pay attention to the days meter. Don't pop ultimate if you see they're at 95 or 97, or probably even 80 depending on where your ultimate's level is. Her ability to off-field stun lets you rack up both days and damage at the same time. So ideally you want to clear wave 1 within about 45 seconds or so for the most optimal score as a free-to-play. Once we reach that 4-minute mark, you're passively going to be building up days while dishing out damage. Keep in mind what your stun conditions are. I'm using Pokra, and you can see me using a lot of empty skills, which I refer to empty skills as the base skill, guys. So no energy. The one with energy is the EX skill. I'm using a lot of empty skills against the enemy to trigger her hunter state. One important thing to pay attention to is that at the end of my first stun window, you'll notice I held my last EX to activate Pokra's gate as soon as Guardian comes out of the stun, since her days is more important than her damage inside a stun. Around 3:35, we're going to be entering the Miasma phase. General tip here is to burn all of your meter for the offense, DPS, ults, EX skills, buffs, so on. Miasma is going to give you the energy back for free, plus you want to make sure you're getting those multiplier points. Then remember the boss tips that I mentioned earlier. Using shoulder to shoulder on the spin blades kills her miasma insanely fast. Use your stunner tools so that you can score miasma right outside of stun. The faster you enter miasma and clear it, the more opportunity you have for the miasma to be affected by the multiplier. Finally, we get to this 230 mark. By this time, you want to score around 22 to 24,000. This is also slightly dependent on the health bar of Guardian. The more health it has, the more score you can build. The closest number to 24,000 by this point will obviously guarantee you the S rank. Just go ahead and finish the kill. The funniest part about this entire run is that I have no idea what I'm doing with the new Soldier 11, meaning for those of you who do know what you're doing with the new Soldier, you will absolutely stomp Room 1 with ease. Room 2 features some of the most annoying robots in the game before we actually get into Jester, which is kind of ironic because he is one of the more simple and clean fights in the game. The Piercing Thunderstrike buff is going to increase agents' electric damage by 20% and their basic attack, special attack, and EX special by another 40%, along with giving them 15% defense shred. The enemies on this floor all share an electric weakness. The obvious matchup for this will favor agents with electric, but Jester himself is weak to physical, so that works as an elemental advantage too. Agents like Yanagi, Aramasa, and Rina will help you a fork ton here. Without shock, your main issue will be the 2 robots in wave 1. If you don't shock them, you'll have to deal with both of them setting up an electric shield one after the other. If you're unable to bring an electric agent, just focus on stunning the robots as fast as possible, then killing them. If they set up shields, you basically do no damage. And if you start unloading all of your resources thinking that's gonna help, then now you're just wasting resources and time. Starting with wave 1, Lightfoot, Rover, and Heavy Striker are pretty weird. Each of them are different, but they somehow have almost identical movesets. These two elites are just straight dick. To deal with both of them, the best case scenario is to target the robot in the front since it will charge the shield first. Some of the more ideal strategies to help you take them down will consist of bringing an electric anomaly agent or a team that builds electric pretty fast in order to prevent and or pop the shield. The positive to all this is that similar to the Flame Priest, you can abuse their weakness, aka shock, to hold them in place. Robots love getting shocked and being staggered for about 2 to 3 seconds. You should give them what they love. Another thing is to use agents that have a linear AoE. Think of characters like Miyabi, Yanagi, Orphe, or even Rina. And if you can't do that, then bring a stun agent that can build daze quickly and just auto-destroy the shield. From that point, we move into Jester, who is a ridiculously easy boss to fight. In fact, I'm pretty positive he's the most neutral boss within this rotation. Shocking him is your best friend. Fun fact about Jester is that he has a unique hidden mechanic where if he gets shocked, he will always fall on his ass no matter what, so long as he's outside of Miasma. Why that's important is because learning a tactic like this helps you lock down Jester whenever he's doing an attack that you don't want to deal with. Timing your anomaly counters to control the fight will drastically improve your damage output. Then there's parrying in the middle of his attack strings, which also temporarily stagger him. You can use this to keep a character like Nagi permanently in her dual buff state. During the fight, Jester has a couple slash combos that will stun lock you, meaning if you get hit, he'll complete the entire combo. This is where using strategies like shocking to prevent him from moving can come in handy. If you're using an attack comp, you need to learn how to play around when your team triggers shock. Because of how important the stun window is to them, you can potentially one-tap Jester before Miasma through raw damage alone. A couple of his moves that you want to pay attention to, Jester has a slash and a thrust combo. They're two different combos, if you will, that both do or look the same, but it has flashes in between the combo to get you out of jail. He has an attack where he loads 3 daggers and then chunks them your way for a full screen effect. Then within pre-Miasma, he'll do a bunch of teleport slashes if you let him, but they really aren't that bothersome. Regarding Miasma, I'm gonna be honest. You should never be inside of the Miasma phase long enough for him to even show you a quarter of his moveset. Your only job is to parry the incoming dagger, then rush him down with damage while he's flat on his ass. Now, if you're skilled enough, you can add in some attacks or burn some EX skills before he throws the dagger, but the dagger is so important because it basically removes 80% of his Miasma shield for free. With the general strategies for Room 2 out of the way, I'm going to walk you guys through how I scored an S rank with the free-to-play team over here as well. My team of choice for Room 2 was Piper, Yuzuha, and Yanagi. So round start, I'm going to open up with Piper to build up a little bit of physical until Yuzuha swings around the enemy. I'm going to push Yuzu's buff on the Nagi, but I'm not going to burn her meter yet. I need Piper to trigger Assault first so that I can rotate out. Ideally, I want to hit both of them with these anomalies at the same time, then immediately spam EX with Nagi to abuse her polarity disorder. Now, I personally only use 1 EX, then I finish the rest of it with Piper so that I can save meter, but do whatever works for you. With an AM team, you don't have to focus on the stun at all. With good builds, you are going to delete chunks of their HP in seconds, and it helps save all of your ults for Jester. So ideally, you want to clear wave 1 within 30 seconds. Once that 430 mark hits, as soon as Jester touches the field, burn Piper's ult, trigger Assault, then use Nagi's ult, plus an EX, then use Yuzuha's ult. You should be able to sneak in 1 more EX from Nagi before the 4-minute mark, and after that, honestly, it's really just play like normal. Stun is guaranteed to happen within the 3 times multiplier or higher with solid anomaly rotations. Your ultimates should return right before or during the stun window as well, due to the fact that popping anomalies gives you 300 decibels or somewhere around there, giving you 2 ultimate rotations with high score multipliers. For me, 325 is when the Miasma phase started to kick in, and by this point, I was already at 25k, which means, hopefully you guys are there too, i.e. mission complete. Jester's Miasma shield is one of the easiest to break in the game too, because again, all you have to be worried about is the dagger, and then attack him and she'll go bye-bye. 230, Jester's dead, GG's. Room 3 is our last floor and gives us one of our more aggressive bosses with a super cool moveset. Now, if you got old man eyes, kind of like me, you might be automatically cooked for this matchup. This room's buff is accumulating Frost. That's going to increase the agent's ice damage by 20% and the basic attack damage by 40%. After an agent uses an EX special, the agent's ice damage additionally increases by 20% for about 15 seconds. What's important about that is that the extension of this buff basically gives your agent a free ice damage disc, letting you strengthen your builds by using a pin or attack 5 depending on your stats. I have a whole different video about this, but this basically goes into like the changing your builds to fit whatever you're fighting in the matchup and significantly benefiting from that instead of playing the same build everywhere. For the first time in this video, all of the enemies don't share the same weakness. The two sets of ethereal enemies in wave 2 are both weak to ice and ether, but the Huskron in wave 1 are weak to fire and ether. Then we have Manato, who's on the final wave, and he's only weak to ice. Naturally, this makes a player want to bring agents like Ishwin or even Zhu Yuan, and while they work exceptionally well to clear the first 2 waves in mere seconds, you might deal with some issues against Manato. That's entirely dependent on the player though. Room 3 actually has a lot more matchup options available than players think. The Manato fight itself is a literal brawl fest, so most of your preparation should go towards mob clearing. What you want to focus on is bringing power and some form of crowd control. For power, think of agents like Ishwin, Ellen, Hugo, Yihari, and even Miyabi. Coincidentally, all of those agents except Hugo work phenomenally for crowd control too. Your DPS, however, doesn't need to have the CC. Support agents are great for this. Think of things like Nicole or Vivian. Jumping straight into wave 1, Huskrons, aka the shield bugs, are insanely easy. Just stun them as soon as possible, use a chain attack, get them out of the way, and move on to wave 2. After that, we jump straight into wave 2, which is going to be the Dulahans and the minions. You also want to stun them as soon as possible and get the kill. Otherwise, the minions are going to do this weird thing. They're going to spread full screen. They're never going to get close together, and they're essentially going to waste your time on purpose. Dulahan himself will chase you down because he's just an aggressive boss. Focus on parries, score the free damage, keep your buffs up, then kill him ASAP. Both of these are relatively easy fights. But then we jump into wave 3, which is Miasmic Manato. Now, Manato is a pretty straightforward fight, but can potentially be tough for some players. He's got hard-hitting attacks with some crazy fast animations. It's basically fighting a way better version of the playable Manato that we have now. Some of the key moves to look out for are things like his insanely fast Falcon Punch and Rising Uppercut, which is technically a frame trap. Speaking of which, this boss is made to parry, but there are a few things you should know ahead of time. I just mentioned frame traps because he has frame traps built everywhere into his kit. In practice, if you dodge his attacks, he has certain animations built into his kit that are guaranteed to hit you. This is another reason why it's important to parry the first and final hits in his combo. Then something that his kit does tell you is that after parrying certain strong moves of his, he'll stagger himself for a few seconds, just meaning free damage. Manato has 2 ultimate attacks as well. Both of them are recognizable animations from the playable version. One is the literal ult, and the other is when he lunges and does this 720 flaming spin move. I guess he's playing Call of Duty, I don't know. Regardless, Manato will stagger himself temporarily after using either of these ults. On the contrary to his attacks, he's actually one of the most interruptible bosses in the game. If you hit him during some of his attack strings, you can actually stop his movement or his preemptive attacks from happening, like when he dashes at you full screen at sonic speed. In my world, this is also referred to as stealing your turn. Yes, that's a fighting game reference. Room 3 strategies and tips are fairly easy to digest. Like I said before, most of your time will be spent learning how to effectively clear out those mobs in the first 2 waves. Now I'm going to walk you guys through how I scored an S rank with one of the free-to-play teams that players said was impossible to do, LOL. This team is going to be Lighter, Lycan, and Hugo. And because I'm not using a crowd controller, I'm going to have to change up my opener a little bit. And I'm going to open with Lycan using a dash attack, but from the side in order to line up the bugs. Then I'm going to stun them and kill them. In the event I did it from the front, I actually pushed one of them in the middle too far back, allowing the other 2 to just do whatever they want. Now I have to play chase away, and I don't want to do that. You really want to wrap up this first wave in about 10 seconds or less. Now you're going to see me do the same thing against the humanoids, which are called Alpaca. That's such a weird name. Whatever. Anyway, fight Dulahan for about 30 seconds or less. Bonus points if you can line all 3 of them up to hit it once. Now, if your Hugo's EX skill is strong enough to take out Dulahan in one hit, then use that and save your ultimate. Otherwise, burn your ult and save the meter. At this point, I have about 20 seconds left around 420 for Manato to appear. I'm immediately burning all of my stunner ultimates to get this done before 4 minutes is up. Don't do what I did. I made a mistake during this run and I tried to save my Lighter's ultimate, That cooked me out of my 5x multiplier. I should have just let it rip. Once you finish that first stun, play the rest of this like a normal match. At 345, you're gonna see Miasma phase starting to pop up. Unless your execution is absolutely nuts, you should not be able to score another stun before Miasma. The fastest way to clear his shield is making sure you catch as many parries as possible while burning whatever meter you gain for damage, since you're gonna get it back anyway as a reward for popping Miasma. Somewhere around 320, you're gonna wanna stun him as soon as the shield is broken. Hugo should have his ultimate, so make sure your buffs are up, then whip out the ult. Remember, you want the multiplier as high as possible for Hugo in particular, since he only gets one shot at his damage. In the final 3 minutes or so, at least one of your stun agents should have another ultimate loaded, so just rush the stun. Repeat this again and again and again until Manato dies. After that, you have successfully S-ranked the entirety of all of the Shiyu defense. Congratulations. With the entire guide finished, that's a wrap. For just a few minutes, let me express some of my opinions and feelings about the new Shiyu defense. Earlier, I mentioned something about the score multiplier being a problem for me. The multiplier itself isn't a problem, but after a week of testing everything I could think of, the issue boiled down to how insanely fast the multiplier drops between the 4th and 3rd minute of the fight. This is absolutely ridiculous and just shouldn't be a thing. Even if they changed it so that the timer would dramatically decrease inside of the 2nd minute of the fight, that would be better. I mean, leagues better. On the contrary to popular opinion though, I don't dislike the multiplier and timer combination. I know that might be a hot take. Let me explain my reason for this. Shiyu defense has always been sort of like the opposite of Deadly Assault in terms of what it strives to teach the player. Strives, the word is strives. In DA, your ability to sustain an impressive performance throughout the entire fight and finish strong is what makes or breaks most kill runs. In Shiyu defense, it's the opposite. How you open the fight has always been one of the most important skill sets to learn for this in-game mode, and yes, that was true before the new remodel. This new Shiyu still teaches players that and uses the score to enforce said skill. Even the thing about front-loading all of your damage and playing like a brainless idiot, I just don't agree with. From my own perspective, I think this is more acceptable from my peers who I consider in the top 1% of players. To them, it makes more sense if they have to change rotations, combos, or whatever compared to their previous sub 60-second practices. However, most players didn't take Shiyu seriously to begin with, so I don't expect them to know that. But the amount of people who were pretending this was never a thing is mind-boggling to me. Once again, doing the thing that I talk about, which is just parroting information. On top of that, we had added limitations like gear locking, which was already existent in the previous Shiyu defense, but I believe now, since the rooms are split into 3, players believe that magically earns the right to change it up and pretend that it was allowed before when it wasn't. I'm a huge fan of this new remodel to Shiyu because I believe with the right feedback, the developers can create the best in-game that has its own way of both teaching and challenging players of all moderately prepared skill levels. It also gives new players or casuals something to work towards. Here is where I'd say that we have to remove the mentality that players automatically deserve the rewards within in-game just because they exist, but I know it'll fall on deaf ears. Instead, I'll work on making more of these guides to continue helping you guys clear the in-game, even if you don't like the new remodels. If you have more questions, want more direct help, or just want to work on clearing the in-game with new friends together, then feel free to join my Discord. A lot of you guys are afraid to admit not being prepared for the in-game, and honestly, that's kinda not okay. There's really nothing to be afraid of, and I keep trying to encourage y'all to just ask for help instead of shouting at a brick wall in anger. Let me know if there's more ways I can improve the creation of this guide, just as long as it doesn't make the workload suddenly turn into 2 weeks of prep time. Anyway, I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Smell you later.